Get up. Get up. Get up.
What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast, episode number 159. We have some things to talk about today. It's been a little bit of a calmer week in Mets world. Not too much going on. There were some press conferences today. We've got some international prospect signings. We also do, unfortunately, have some sad news for you guys. Frank Thomas, one of the original Mets, has passed away at 93 years old. So, condolences out to the Thomas family. He was there for Old Timers Day. I was lucky enough to get to talk to him for a couple minutes. Was a really nice guy. Obviously, a lot of history. Born in Pittsburgh, was on the Pirates for a long time of his career along with the Mets. He had some great years with the Mets too, right, James?
Yeah, Frank Thomas led the Mets franchise in home runs in total for the first 3 years he spent here until 1965. John also mentioned before that I think he had the single-season record until Dave Kingman broke it, which was the 80s.
That's correct. And also, I just read this. When Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt, was inducted to the Hall of Fame, went to Cooperstown, was signing autographs, and he said, tongue-in-cheek, my name will always be in the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
I like that.
That's great.
I like that. Yeah, no, I mean, like in the brief conversation I had with him, he was a guy who he would just say anything. He was ready to let it loose, whatever. He was a smart guy. He was witty. I liked it.
He also went to high school in Canada, which is probably pretty abnormal for baseball players in the 1950s and 60s. He had an incredible run with the Pirates, too, through the 1950s.
Yeah.
Three-time All-Star. He had 161 home runs from 1953 and 1958, a part of some very good Pirates teams. It's a high mark for that time in baseball.
100%. Like you said, he was a great Met, too, having the franchise record for home runs for the first 3 years. Rest in peace, Frank Thomas. Condolences to the Thomas family. It's unfortunate, but...
Yeah, happy he got to the ballpark, put on the uniform one last time this summer. That was very cool.
Yeah, definitely something that I'm sure he appreciated. Now, to talk about some other stuff going on in Mets world, there was a press conference today reintroducing Adam Ottavino and introducing Omar Narvaez. So we got to see that a little bit, some comments from them. You guys know the drill with a press conference. It's a lot of the same, really, at the end of the day.
I did think it was cool that Narvaez did specifically mention the opportunity to mentor Francisco Alvarez, being a catcher, being Venezuelan. I thought that was pretty cool that he was able to make that connection, see the relative importance of this prospect coming up this year.
I'm just really excited to watch Adam Ottavino just exist as a human for at least another season or two, because he is one of the most peculiar players that I've ever seen. Guy walks around barefoot in the outfield. When we asked him what he was listening to before the game, he's like, just some lo-fi hip-hop music on YouTube. Like, the dude... Is eccentric the right word? I think I want to use.
The right word,
yeah. Look at me getting vocabulary words right today. But eccentric dude, and of course his intro song, Kid Cudi. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
There's also a new opportunity for someone to be eccentric in the bullpen without Trevor May being here this year.
Yes.
So there's a little bit more eccentric. I don't even know. There's a little more. There's space for more eccentricness.
Eccentricity.
I don't think that's a word either.
Okay, but it sounds like a word.
You're one for two.
It sounds all right. It sounds all right. Listen, glad those guys are back. Omar Narvaez, we've talked about him before. You guys know the drill. But I think what was really interesting is that we did see Billy Eppler answer some questions from the press. And in that, he did basically say that the Mets are going to be looking for a fourth outfield option and some bullpen options. So you guys know on this podcast, we love talking about depth. It's like one of our favorite things to talk about is all the relievers and all the backup guys that we could fill out this roster with. I mean, who do you think sticks out to you right now, James, as guys that you would be going after?
The ones who make the most sense right now are definitely Adam Duvall, Tommy Pham, Jerks, and Profar. But there's always this weird conundrum that happens to good teams at this point in the offseason where you want to pay a guy to sit on your bench, but that player might himself want to be someone who wants a job. Yeah. We saw this last week as there were rumors around the Mets and Andrew McCutchen that apparently they offered him more money than he wound up taking from the Pirates, allegedly, but he wanted the opportunity to try and play, not even every day, but just a lot of days. And if you come to a team like the Mets that's already very, very tight right now in terms of playing time in the starting lineup, it's hard to really guarantee anybody playing time. But those three stick out to me just as players with some pop, with decent play discipline for Pham and Profar, who can play some good outfield, more so in terms of Duvall. You're never going to get a perfect option right now, but I do think that this team could use a fourth outfielder.
No, definitely. I think right now on the roster, Khalil Lee is listed as technically the fourth outfielder. So not that Khalil Lee is not capable, but I think you like to go into the season with a little bit more security than that. In terms of relievers, the reliever market is still, I don't want to say it's deep, but it's the reliever market. As we know, there's just guys that you can make out of thin air. And some of the bigger names that still are available on the reliever market, Andrew Chafin, Michael Fulmer, of course, former Met. We know he was around here for a little bit and part of a big trade. Chad Green still available. Did he get a big injury, though?
Yeah, very big injury.
Is he Tommy John?
I don't even know if it was Tommy John or Thoracek.
Okay.
Oh, something bad.
Because
but
I was shocked when I saw his name because he was really good with the Yankees for those 3 or 4 years.
I think it was 2 years ago. He was in 2021. He was like one of the most valuable relievers in baseball.
But an injury would make sense there. Matt Whistler is a guy.
Was Tommy John, by the way.
Tommy John, okay. Matt Whistler, Matt Moore had success. I mean, the names by no means are gonna be like, whoa, Matt Moore is available. How have we not got this guy? But there's definitely some good pitching available still in the bullpen department.
I like Fulmer a lot in terms of those options because he still throws relatively hard. It's not like what he was in the early when he came up in his career, but he just still has a very good slider. And we've seen the last few years that the Tigers player development and just pitching coach, like they seem to not get anything close to the most out of any guy in their entire roster for a very long time. So I think if you get a guy like Fulmer to come to a team that has much better pitching coordination, you could get more out of him. And even with this bad team with horrible development resources in the organization, he still had a great slider.
Yeah, I mean, one guy that's really interesting to me is Alex Reyes, that he's still available. I know he's had some injury stuff the last few years, but one, he's like kind of a local kid. He grew up in Elizabeth for a good chunk of time and played at Elizabeth High School in New Jersey. So, I mean, he had a great year with the Cardinals a couple years ago. He's got the stuff for sure. It's always just been about kind of getting him to rein in that control a little bit and just be on the field. That's one of the problems with Alex Reyes. But when you're talking about a guy who doesn't have a job right now on January 17th, I'm sure you could knock on his door.
There's another couple of reclamation projects like that out there. Everyone remembers Josh James from the Astros.
You love that guy.
I just throws 100 miles an hour with a good slider. So, I mean, why not give a shot to a guy with 100 miles an hour and a good slider? Well, Ken Giles is still out there, but I don't know whatever's going to happen with him.
Heath Hembry still available. You know, one that I've been seeing that a lot of people have been talking about recently, too, is Zach Britton. The Zach Britton conversation. Not necessarily that the Mets need another lefty. I'm sure there are some Mets fans out there that still maybe aren't comfortable with Brooks Raley just because it's a name they're not familiar with because he's played in Tampa, last year and Houston before that. But Zach Britton would be a nice left-handed arm to him as long as he's healthy. I mean, he's a ground ball machine.
Otherwise, there's two other guys coming off major injuries who both most recently spent time with the Los Angeles Dodgers. In each case, the Dodgers made a specific effort to go out and acquire them. One is Danny Duffy, who they traded for him, I think, the 21 deadline, just like the moment before they got Turner and Scherzer, and it got completely swept under the rug because then he also got hurt immediately. He's someone who was working out of the bullpen, but he had 3-4 pitches that were all above average. Also, Jimmy Nelson, the Dodgers did have the opportunity to extend this year for not that much money and decided not to do that, so maybe not a lot in there at all, but still not bad.
There's a lot of veteran arms available in that bullpen that could fill in these last few spots.
Things. Yeah, like
Corey Knebel, that curveball still.
Dominic Leone, your boy from San Fran.
Ugh, Dominic Leone. Ugh, another Clemson boy. I can't have too many Clemson guys hanging around here.
But it's just there's a lot of creativity left on this reliever market, and I'm sure the way the Mets have gone about this offseason so far, they will work to be creative with how they fill out the rest of the bullpen, be it Major League, spring training invitations, upper depth of the minor leagues.
There you go. You got that one out finally.
Lights are bright.
You guys, we have a mailbag a little bit later for you guys too. So if we didn't address any players or questions that you're thinking like, why didn't they say that? It's coming. Don't worry. We're gonna do mailbag in a second. But to switch, tones here a little bit. International free agents, international prospects, the signees, they've been happening this week. I don't know if the deadline's officially over now, or if you can still sign guys for a couple days. But the Mets had a pretty decent haul. International prospect is kind of like a lottery in a way. When you hit, it feels like you hit big, and when you miss big. That kind of is the way that it seems to be going, especially the last few years. A couple big names that the Mets pulled out. First one being Daverson Gutierrez, who was ranked number 20 on Baseball America. He's a catching prospect, 6'2", 205 pounds. Dude was born in 2005.
205 pounds right now?
205 pounds right now, 6'2".
Unit.
The dude can swing the bat. I mean, all the comparisons right now from what I've been reading and seeing have been Francisco Alvarez. I mean, he's from Venezuela. He's been working with Francisco Alvarez. If that is the comparison, I like what I'm hearing. I really like that. And I also believe he was the guy that the Mets gave the most money to, or at least in that top group of guys that got the most money. But they're saying aggressive hitter, controls his zone well, which is really nice to see. Obviously, he has to learn to hit for a little bit more power when you're 16, 17 years old. It's something that comes with time. And I mean, lifting some weights, I'm sure will help him as well. But the fact that he's been putting up exit velos over 100 plus miles an hour already is something that's really good.
Yeah, at that age, pick up exit velos of 100 miles an hour. I know he's in the top 20 Baseball America list 2 of these international prospect pool, number 20, which is a good place to start.
Yeah, no, 100%. The next guy, Christopher Larez, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Might not be. 6'1", 190 pounds. This dude was born January 10th, 2006.
That's awful.
I was just turning 10 years old when this guy was born. The fun thing about Christopher Larez...
This person was not alive when Pedro Martinez was a Red Sox.
How do you guys like feeling old, by the way? You guys always get on me.
Well, what are you? What are you? 43 now?
I mean, it's starting to happen. Luckily, we have you around to keep us making feel a little bit younger.
You guys make me feel young. How about that?
We know. That's why you like to do this podcast so much.
I'm having a little bit of a. I shouldn't say this. I'm not having an existential crisis, but I'm having a. I'm no longer in my mid 20s. 27 is now late 20s.
Off the parents' insurance.
I've been off the insurance for a couple years now, but yeah, 27. Just celebrated a recent birthday.
Yeah, this weekend.
Vito gave me a happy birthday.
Was your birthday.
John didn't even say anything.
When was your birthday?
January 15th, John.
Was that 2 days ago?
Yeah, 2 days ago. John didn't even say anything.
I had no idea.
Classic
How
John.
did Vito know? Vito, how'd you know? Instagram.
Twitter.
Twitter does birthdays?
I think Mark just
I
said it was
tweeted
his
it out. I
birthday.
said thanks to everybody saying happy birthday.
Oh, you know what it was? That new For You nonsense.
Yeah, that's
on
true.
Twitter.
No, it is nonsense.
I don't see the most. Well, I am very sorry. I feel like a terrible person in real time right now as we record this.
Man, John.
Happy birthday, dude.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
You're welcome.
72,000 people saw that tweet, and you weren't one of them.
Impressions, huh?
Yeah, that's sad. Like,
It's Elon's fault.
Blame Elon. Blame the billionaire. Yes.
Elon did screw something up this week. It's been a conversation between us recently, but because we all do a lot of social media stuff, they changed all the format of Twitter images.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Memes are dead.
Yeah, no memes have to be reformatted
Elon
now. That's
came
a
to
little
bring
tough.
the memes, and he killed memes.
Yeah, it's
Terrible.
not great.
Unironically.
They're gonna fix it. They fixed the views thing and moved it over to the right side of tweets now. So that's at least something forward. Going back to this prospect guy, Christopher Larez, who was born.
Happy birthday to Mark, everybody.
Yeah, happy birthday to me. Thank you. What's really exciting about him is that people think that he could be a 5-tool player. They think right now, defensively, he is the most polished shortstop in the entire class. Has real 5-tool potential. I saw his swing. I was watching him hit from videos from Jacob Resnick. Again, you should follow him on Twitter if you're a Mets fan. Great for prospect stuff, Jacob Resnick. This guy has a really clean, compact swing. You can't really project the power just yet because he is so young and he's still learning probably how to use his body and his size. But the fact that his hands looked as good as they did in the field in the clips that I saw, something to build on. When you hear people say 5-tool prospect, you always get a little excited.
Hit tool is very good for players this age. I read some kind of article not that long ago. I think it was Baseball America, but just about being able to track mostly international free agent signings or players that come out of the high school because those guys get grouped a lot together as they come through systems. And it was a list that was basically if a player has above a 30% strikeout rate in the DSL or the FCL, like that's kind of it. Like, your chance of reaching the major leagues are incredibly slim at that point. So seeing contact at that age is very important.
Yeah, the talent's only going to get better. So to be able to be a well-rounded player is something that's good. He's a guy that was 25 on Baseball America, a lot lower on MLB Pipeline. So interesting. Depends who you value a little more.
I like that.
Yeah, our boy Matt Eddy. Come on, he would never steer us wrong.
No miss.
Anthony Baptiste would be the third big name guy that they got. He's ranked number 31 on Baseball America. He's just simply one of the best athletes, maybe the best athlete in the entire class. Apparently, watching him play center field is fascinating. That's what a lot of scouts have been saying. He's lefty at the plate. His swing reminds me of Jerkson Profar a lot. Very hunched over, a little slappy. He's going to put the ball in play kind of thing. But basically, the athleticism, and you worry about baseball after that, which that's cool. I like that. I like the idea of a guy who, we've for a long time been, and before Brandon Nimmo, we're like, we need a center fielder, we need a center fielder, we need a center fielder. Take a risk on the athletic guy like the Tampa Bay Rays always do.
Great. In 9 years?
In 9 years. Yeah, he was born in 2005. It's crazy to talk about these guys.
Yeah, you
but
think if you're 27, imagine you're 36 and Anthony Baptiste is making his debut?
No, I don't want to stop. I don't want to think about that.
You'll almost be John's age.
Yeah, we'll almost be like 44, how like John is.
Oh,
A couple more quick names I'm just going to throw at you. Not a whole lot behind them. Marcos Castillo, just cool because he's a son of former Mets catcher Alberto Castillo. Wilmer Lugo is a left-handed pitcher. Jacob Resnick had a write-up on him. Basically, he is the most notable international pitching prospect. He's left-handed, 6 feet tall, born in 2006. He's touching mid-90s as a 16-year-old and has a pretty decent curveball. Sounds good to me. You're the pitching guy.
Yeah, I feel like if you have to scout pitchers this young, and I know a lot of the major league scouts do this too when they find high school kids, I feel like the only thing you really want is like frame extension and like the shoulder flexibility. Because past this, like when a guy like this young comes into your system, you're going to teach him every single thing new.
It's a project.
Yeah, like you're going to probably reteach him mechanics, reteach him a delivery, reteach him different grips and like styles of pitches. You might even change his arm slot, his delivery, but like you just want to make sure that they have like the stretch back.
100%. Yeah, no, and he definitely rears back and fires. I've watched some clips of him too, some zip on that ball. Last guy, Julio Zayas. He's listed as the under-the-radar Met from Jacob Resnick. Not a lot of buzz. He's another catching prospect. Essentially just hits the ball extremely hard. He's a big boy, crushes baseballs. You like to see hard exit velos. That's what we got on the international prospects. Again, not too much because, again, they're 15, 16, 17 years old.
It's January baseball content.
Yeah, this is you guys have been around this podcast for a while. You know that we get into the mud in the middle of January.
Anybody new, there's a lot of chaos here.
There's a lot of chaos here. There's a lot of chaos. So that's it for the international prospects. I think we want to do a mailbag finally because we have
been teasing a mailbag for 2 months.
Yeah, and a lot of questions about things that we couldn't answer. So let's go ahead and get into this mailbag. James, I'm going to let you pick the first question for this one.
All right. Ooh, first question. Do you want to go baseball or you want to go fun?
Let's go. I'm going to let you pick. This is all you, guy.
Okay. First question, I think this is something we touched on before. It's something I think that's probably the broadest question because we got it from multiple people is where we expect the Mets bench to go as this offseason winds up and get closer to the regular season.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you guys look on Fangraphs, Roster Resource, which is a great tool, I'm sure a lot of people use it. If not, check it out. Support Fangraphs, incredible site. The Mets listed bench right now would probably give a lot of fans agita. It probably would make a lot of people a little uncomfortable and not really feel that good about the way the roster lines up. And it starts with your backup catcher, Tomas Nido, who fan favorite. We're a massive Tomas Nido podcast.
Tomas Nithro.
I'd go as far as say we are the biggest Tomas Nido podcast that exists on the internet.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And we've interviewed him like he's the man. Other than then past there, you have your backup infielder, also a favorite of ours, Luis Guillorme.
Of course.
Our king. The first podcast we ever did for this show, it was me shouting out how important Luis Guillorme would be in March 2001.
King Louis.
Yes. And then past that, now is when it gets a little dicey. People might get uncomfortable. The first guy is Darren Ruff, who didn't really ingratiate himself to Mets fans last year, but is a guy who I think probably still has more skill and potential than some people would want to believe based on how bad he played last year.
It's really important to note that he's there to crush left-handed pitching, and after he pitched in Atlanta, he just wasn't the same, and then all of a sudden he got hurt with the back thing that probably had been lingering for a little bit.
I think he had 2 extra base hits in his first 2 games
Yeah.
in the Atlanta series.
Felt
and
really
none
good.
the rest of the way. Yeah, that was a rough one. Yeah,
Got on base in the playoff game that he
get on
started
base
too.
in the playoff game. He did. That was yeah. We were sitting with Vito for that one. That was a massive cheer. That was when we were. Who was the pitcher? Who was the pitcher?
Morejón, Adrian Morejón.
Oh man,
Morjon.
God, we got in his head. That was fun for a little while.
That was great.
And then last member of the bench right now is Khalil Lee, who I don't think really anybody expects to be a major league player this year.
Yeah.
Just based on the way he had a very good 2021 in terms of minor league production and came up in the major leagues and didn't look incredibly overmatched. He wasn't good, but it wasn't awful. But then last year in AAA really took a step back to the point where we're pretty certain we're going to need to add an outfielder.
Yeah, for sure. And of course you still have Vientos and Beatty and Alvarez as guys that could be floating around too.
That's where I was going to go with this whole conversation because right now those players aren't exactly listed as members of the roster, but I do think there is going to be a portion of the season where first of all, the Mets might opt for carrying a 5-man bench because I do think that they have a lot of pitchers in this bullpen that are able to give length.
100%.
Based on the way the roster is going to shake out right now, unless they go through 6-man rotation, which is possible, we don't know, there's a legitimate chance that we have David Peterson, Eliezer Hernandez, and Tyler Morgill all in the opening day bullpen.
Yeah.
Those are 3 pitchers with starters pedigree who can give tons of length at any given moment. That will give the Mets an opportunity at some point, depending on how they want to shuffle their options, to carry a 5th bench player. And I think that would be beneficial just because we have a player in Daniel Vogelbach who can't really play the field, and we have a player in Francisco Alvarez who doesn't really have a defensive home right now, but his development as a hitter is really important. And 2, I do think his upside as a power bat is something that not many other players on this active roster can give. So I do think that while the bench looks a little funky right now, you're going to see opportunities for the Mets carry a 5-man bench, get a 5th player on there, whether that be Alvarez or Beatty over a period of time. There's also a world where Brett Beatty could be someone who gets outfield reps as the season goes on. Him and Mark Vientos both got time there in the upper minors last year, AA, AAA, and we heard mixed reviews on each. But it's not like we're gonna want to get them develop time in the lineup at some point, and neither of them are stout enough defensively at their position of choice, being third base. Beatty is better than Vientos. People have said he's at least fine there. We saw last year it went up and down a little bit, but that I think is going to be more of the direction this team goes in terms of bench depth than signing a lot more guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's I understand why people would be concerned, like you said, but I think it's weirdly deep.
It's
weirdly deep because we have these 3 young guys that could come up and just really make an impact.
Yeah, it's also the other side that's a double-edged sword to where we thought it was weirdly deep last year. Then it was just a bunch of guys who wound up being disappointed that needed to upgrade once the season got going.
For sure, yeah.
Another reason that this bench is deep is you have a lot of guys that can play a lot of positions. Jeff McNeil can play both the infield and the outfield, and that opens up options. Luis Guillorme can play pretty much any infield spot other than first base, and I bet you if you ask him to do it, he could figure it out. We saw
Yeah.
Mark Canha play third base when Eduardo Escobar went down against the Phillies last year.
Wow, I forgot
We've seen
about
him
that.
play left. We've seen him play center. And I believe he could play first base
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So having that flexibility opens up the bench, opens up your options. And that's, I mean, all teams strive for that. And the Mets are really in a good spot. Jeff McNeil is so key when it comes to that.
Especially just the fact that we do. Guillorme is the linchpin there because he is the only other guy in this roster who can play shortstop.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I don't think Eduardo Escobar couldn't play shortstop, or I don't even think Jeff McNeil couldn't play shortstop.
Well,
but
yeah.
in terms of a guy who's defensively plus there, those are the only two. And we have John's favorite player, Danny Mendick, who is going to be sitting in AAA, who also can snuff at the shortstop for a little while. Like he's that last rung of defense before we get into like disaster area shortstop, which, I mean.
And if anyone's
Are you
wondering
even
why I
saying
love
anything?
Danny Mendick so much, it's because he went to UMass Lowell, which is a great school. I'm all about the UMass school system. Danny Mendick. Also,
What's the team? The UMass Lowell what?
I forget.
John loves
Big
him.
fan.
But I can tell you Jack Leathersich also. Remember
right.
Jack Leathersich?
Yeah, the
lefty
lefty.
reliever.
Yeah.
He went to UMass Lowell. I'm gonna look it up. This is
Yeah,
killing me.
look it
I
up.
also forgot we also pulled in Jose Peraza as a non-roster invite.
Oh.
So he's another like little line of depth in between
Nice.
shortstop chaos.
He
and
had some fun
life.
moments.
The
Very
Riverhawks.
fun moments.
Yes.
the
The
Riverhawks. How
They're
can we forget the Riverhawks?
UMass Riverhawks.
The Minutemen. That's
Yeah,
UMass.
that's
Marcus
UMass.
Camby,
Yeah,
UMass.
okay.
And also,
I knew
since
that
we
one.
recorded last, I believe since we recorded last, we signed Tim LaCastro also.
Yes.
To non-roster invitation. He can play corner outfield. He could probably find a way to play center. He's just that fast.
Oh, he definitely plays center.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's going to be this year's pinch runner, get some athleticism out there. And these
Terrence
are players who, it's going to be Terrence Gore. But I think he could probably do a little bit more
He
than
could
Terrence
hit,
Gore.
yeah.
He could
can
definitely.
hit a little bit more. He's not going to say he can hit a lot, but he can hit a little bit more. So,
Higher ceiling.
yeah, but there is probably, again, still room for a legitimate fourth outfielder, the guys we mentioned before, along with possibly Tyler Naquin, who we talked about, could possibly be someone who comes back. Just but that kind of class of players is going to be the one that finishes off this roster,
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, maybe if like Lorenzo Cain wants to just sit in the bench and play corner outfield, but that's the kind of guy he's
Yeah.
going to be. I think
Someone
David,
you-
Robbie Grossman, David Peralta.
You got to find someone who's
I
hunting a ring.
love David Peralta.
Yeah,
You got to find someone who's hunting
again,
a ring.
David Peralta's almost
Nah, me. No.
too. What is it? What did you say? I was saying he's like almost a guy who's like too good for this
Oh
because
yeah, he's an everyday player.
that's what I mean. And Duvall
yeah.
probably is as well. Profar might be as well.
Profar is.
Yeah, so
But
it's hard to convince a guy like that to be like, do you want to play? You want to play 90 games?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's ring hunters. It's people
Yeah.
who are looking for a World Series ring,
That's
trying
it.
to get their last little piece on their
one of
mantle
these.
place there. Yeah. Exactly. To switch it up a little bit from being so dense about baseball, how about
Yeah.
some things about Citi Field here? Because we just went on.
Yeah,
we gave
did.
you a lot of information about so many different topics.
Stuff.
We're
Start
trying.
talking.
We're
Turn
trying.
the
We
mics
love.
on.
That's what we love doing. That's what we love doing.
why we're here.
A couple different people chimed in with stuff about Citi Field, about favorite areas in Citi Field, along with the Coens had everybody out to talk about what the project is around here and what could be going on. So I love Uncle Steve, or I love my Uncle Steve, said, what would you guys like
That's Greg,
the
right?
area? Yeah, it's Greg.
Yeah.
What would you like the
Laura.
area around Citi to look like? What sorts of things should that area include? Restaurants, bars, etc. I think you hit the nail on the head. Restaurants, bars, hotels, casino.
Restaurants, bars, etc.
Yeah, like literally anything that gives me somewhere to hang out before the game. I could get here 3-4 hours early and hang out
Yeah.
before the game instead of 2. Like I'm in.
And there's so many like newish stadiums that have opened up that have these great areas outside.
As much as I hate to say it, Atlanta
Yeah, it's
does it
cool.
so well. The Battery is amazing.
I've never been down there, but just being at going to college in Ohio, going to Cincinnati and Cleveland a few times for games. There's just there's like each one of those has like a strip of bars that like you walk bar stadium. Like they don't even give you a second to think.
And those are like sad cities. Like those aren't even like
they're fine. They're sad in terms of if you know the East Coast,
Yeah.
but like in terms of Middle America, they're
Oh, yeah.
metropolises.
Cincinnati's cool.
Cincinnati is probably cool.
Better than Cleveland.
yes, of
in a way,
course.
but
Yeah,
like if you're from most of those states, like that's a dream.
I guess.
You wind up
yeah.
you wind up
Coastal
in,
elites.
you wind up in Cincinnati or Cleveland. You're in the mountaintop. You climbed. You did it. You've made it. You're there. We're talking to one of our friends the other day at your birthday.
Yeah.
This friend just moved to Cincinnati voluntarily.
Live from here.
Yeah, one of my best friends. Shout out Reed. Is sometimes listening to this podcast. He lives in Cincinnati right now. He just has a job in an office. Drives there with no traffic. Could you imagine?
No. I had traffic coming from Astoria today.
I had tons of traffic coming from Brooklyn, but I just think just having like a couple bars, people can hang out outside, nice patios, a couple of televisions, some appetizers, place to have nachos.
yeah.
How about a place to maybe throw a parlay down before?
Yeah,
A game?
Well, that's what we were saying too. Are we allowed to say that? Because I know that was like
Yeah,
a
it doesn't
thing
need to be
going
about
around.
on any particular sport.
Like
It
to
could be
drop a
about,
layer.
Champions League soccer.
Yeah, for sure.
Like to drop a lay or two.
Yeah.
See what's
just
going
hang
on
out,
in
drop a
person.
lay.
In person, get a ticket. That would be nice.
weekend games. Once September comes around, you watch some football, college football on Saturday.
Make it an event coming to Citi Field.
I'm gonna try and mention the words college football once every episode now, just because of how much people dislike it. I'm not gonna talk about it. Just say the words college
football.
Yeah.
And then here's another one that's about Citi Field. Most underrated part about Citi Field. That comes from Pat's Stats.
Most underrated part.
He said his is the bullpen picnic area, to which I've never really spent time there.
That's that area like downstairs when you walk in the gate. That's actually kind of cool, sneaky spot. What's a great spot? Also sneaky. The spot that we hung out in a lot last year, all the way up in the top floor, that picnic area around home plate.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple cool bars there. There's sneaky, amazing food options up there.
Yeah.
You can get the burrito bowl.
Yes.
over
Nobody
there.
knows about it. I don't know if we want to tell people.
Yeah,
It's
it's not a thing,
anymore.
folks.
No,
Don't worry
it's
about
burrito
it.
bowl
Don't worry
stinks.
about
You don't
it.
want to get the burrito bowl, and it's not up there. But they have the steak sandwiches up there. They have a really good bar with good beers, seltzer selection. They have
the Jim Beam bar as well.
Yes, they do. It's just there's a really good. They have the Carvel back there.
Yep.
They have some pizza back there. Like, it's a great spot to eat, drink, hang out, and it's just not really that used. And they have the Arancini Bros up there too, right next door. It's a good spot.
Yeah.
Mr. Softy. Yeah,
Is
sorry,
that
wrong.
exclusive up there, or can you get that? Yeah. Okay.
Nah, Mr.
Not
Softy.
the C word.
No.
That must have been the old days.
I think that was the
that
old
was
days.
the old days.
Wait, which? Never mind. Continue.
Let me see. My most underrated spot. I like where my parents have their like 20 game pack, which
Yeah,
is like
that's a
it's
good
not
spot.
underrated because it's a popular spot. It's the
Yeah.
lower level. So maybe I won't say that one. I do like the left field spot where we hang out sometimes.
That is kind of fun
It's not a
sometimes.
great place. Like, it's not my number one choice to sit, and we've been incredibly unlucky sitting there, so it's dead to me. But it's nice and chill.
In terms of game outcomes, and also
Yeah.
last time we sat up there, Mark got pooped on by a
Yeah,
bird.
a pigeon pooped
That's
on
good
me
luck, though.
We
Well,
thought it was, but until they lost.
until they lost.
Which game is this?
Game
Wow.
3.
3.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
lucky.
yeah,
Not
you
that
don't-
lucky.
yeah,
Actually
that's-
unlucky. Quite
But
unlucky.
it's like nice and chill up there.
There
and
was,
like
there was a whole clique of pigeons that were just pooping on everybody.
Yeah.
There were like 4 of them.
Maybe it's like
was
good luck,
raining
bad
down.
luck, good luck, bad luck, good luck, bad
Yeah,
luck,
sure.
and
You
it
need-
ended on a bad luck poop.
You need an odd number.
Yeah,
an odd number
You're
of.
an odd number guy.
No, I'm just trying to. Usually, if there's
okay.
if there's one event that happens,
Yeah.
that's
Definitely
the
an
good
odd
luck.
number guy.
Good.
Yeah.
Undoes it. It's
That's what I
bad.
mean, yeah.
All right, I was gonna say because like the remote needs to be on an even number with the volume, even everything.
We're gonna do a side episode next couple of months about all of John's OCD habits.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm sure there's many more than the one we just heard.
And
sneakily.
then we do have a special in-person mailbag from producer John as well. He's got a question that he wants to ask us real quick.
I certainly do. As everyone knows, obviously the New York Football Giants are moving on to the second round. I myself am a New York Jets fan. James is a Jets fan, and Mark is a Washington Commanders fan.
Go Commies.
And I've been thinking about this. Like this past Sunday, I was watching that game with a Giants fan who's a little obnoxious, but I let it slide. I used to hate the Giants. Back in the Rex Ryan days, I was telling you guys before we started recording. And I don't feel that way anymore towards them. I don't know if I've gotten softer in my old age or what it is. Maybe it was just that Giants plus 135 was real sweet on Sunday. But for whatever reason, I kind of find myself rooting for them. Now they play Philadelphia, a city that we don't want to see win anything.
No.
Like that's across the board. I know Vito doesn't agree with that, but trust me, if you're a New Yorker, you do not want to see the fans of Philadelphia have fun with anything at all. And I was wondering where you guys sit, and fans at home, and hopefully we're cool, or everyone's cool with us talking football here. It's NFL, it's New York.
It's
all
going to be the
good.
last 5 minutes of the podcast. You
Yeah,
guys
if
can
not,
hang
guys,
around.
shut it down now. If you
not
don't
Ohio
want to
State.
hear a nuanced discussion about the Jets and the Giants fandom. But we were actually having this conversation on Sunday. We were hanging out for Mark's birthday, and I was kind of saying, like, I don't, for some reason, it's weird. It doesn't make any sense. It's not true. But I don't put the Eagles and the Phillies in the same area for me at all, because I hate the Phillies so much, and I feel nothing for the Eagles because it's never been a rivalry with my team.
Yeah.
And I do objectively like a lot of players on the Eagles. Like, I think Jalen Hurts is super cool, and I love his story. Like, the way he's developed over the last 7 years between college, getting benched for Tua, coming back, transferring, second-round pick, and rising. Like, that's just really cool to see a guy get that much better. And like, a lot of that roster is held over from the last Super Bowl that beat Tom Brady, so I have a lot of respect for them there. But I don't know. I think I'm rooting for the Giants more than the fact that they're a local team, just based on the fact that how insane of a story it is where they're going right now. The Giants are objectively have one of the 5 worst rosters in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
And there's no way about that. The Giants basically have,
You think they're that bad?
I think they basically have 2 good players in the entire team. Truthfully, like,
That's not even a take. I don't even think that's a hot take, to be
I don't think
fair.
so. It's like Andrew Thomas is incredible. Dexter Lawrence is really good. Like Saquon's fine. But he's a running back. Daniel Jones has been incredible. But like besides that, you have to really squint to find anybody. Thibodeau, of course.
Yeah.
But you have to like really squint to find any kind of useful talent in this team. Like if this team was coached by anybody else, and last year it was basically 90% of the same roster.
Yeah.
They were like objectively one of the worst teams in the entire league. So I think it's cool from just the underdog perspective more so than the local perspective.
Yeah, my take on it is, because as a Commanders fan, they're both in my division. So this is like nightmare. This is hell. But, I mean, I think I would rather see the Giants than the Eagles because I really do loathe the city of Philadelphia. It's just absolutely the worst. I hate it so much. And I think now I'm starting to realize why. It's just every team I've ever rooted for, the Eagles are direct. It's something Philadelphia is, direct rivalry competitor. So I really hate that city. I don't want to see them win. Although the Commanders smacked them in Monday Night Football, so you know.
There you go. I mean, Commanders the only team of the NFC Beast who isn't still alive.
I know, it's unfortunate. It's really tough, honestly. But I respect the Giants because, like you said, the team's not good and they're playing well. And Brian Dable is a football guy.
He's a badass.
Yeah,
he's a badass.
No, he's really cool.
I love
sick.
Brian Dable.
He's objectively also like the fourth best coach in the NFL already.
I'd love to find out that he's a Mets fan.
If you think Belichick's dead.
Yeah, I know he's a Rangers fan.
I'd love for him to be a Mets
They
fan.
won every single playoff game that he showed up at.
Really?
And when he was wearing his Ranger vest, he wasn't at Game 5 against
Because
Tampa.
if he's a Mets fan, he has an open invitation to come talk to the boys and talk some baseball. I'd love to pick his brain. He's a football
He
guy.
could yell at me.
No, I'm saying I don't care what team you like.
Can he yell at you?
Sure, yeah. Okay. I'd like to be coached up by Brian Dable.
But you can respect what the Giants are doing. You can respect that Daniel Jones looks competent, especially when he'd been so horrible.
Looks incredible. Daniel Jones is also like I'd like to know the story of him developing like the way he has recently. He had to deal with 2 different coaches in his first 3 years, different schemes, different stuff. Daniel Jones was like a player who played a lot of football in college. And when you play a lot of football in college, there's a direct correlation to NFL success. We've learned that the hard way
with the
being Jets fans, by guys who
Yes.
haven't played that much and not being good. You're seeing it with Brock Purdy right now. The guy started 40 games in college, which is literally impossible to do almost. It means you have to start for 4 years and not leave early to go to the NFL and never get injured. But it's a cool story what's going on with the Giants, and I would be way more into it if I didn't have like 3 annoying like friends and cousins.
Yeah,
Well, that's the thing is when you know the fan base and then they get a little cocky. And I don't think Giants fans are there quite yet because this has been such a Cinderella run. They were expected to win 3 games. See, I don't want them to win the Super Bowl.
No. Well, that's why.
Also, I mean, let's be real.
They're not going to.
Here.
I know. I'm just saying, like that would.
They just beat the
bother me.
Vikings, who had a negative point differential.
Frauds.
Yeah.
Frauds. And I think the Eagles doubled
Captain
the Vikings
Kirk.
sack total this year. If the Giants win the Super Bowl, I'll be salty. I will not be happy.
Yeah, I don't want a Super Bowl
for
win.
sure.
But like
They can beat the Eagles.
Sure.
They can beat the Eagles all day. Ooh,
And the lights just went
the lights
out.
are out. Well, I hope we're still rolling.
How does this look?
I think we are. Yeah. Do we look good? All right, we're gonna keep going in the dark.
I mean, that's like the Oscars. They're telling us to wrap it up.
That's
Wrap
fair.
it up.
Wrap it up.
it
Start
up.
playing the music.
It's nice to have a New York sports story to talk about. Like, let's be real. It's January 15th or 17th, whatever, middle of January. We're not talking Knicks. We're not talking Rangers.
Just pulled your birthday out
I
of
know,
nowhere.
didn't-
Didn't even know.
Didn't even know it was my
register.
birthday.
Happy birthday. It's nice for the city to rally around a team. And I don't know. I just feel like right now, more than in the past, maybe it's because the Jets and Giants were inept for so damn long that now it's just nice to see January football in the city for the first time since the Giants went on their boat ride in 2016, which was a long time ago.
Long time.
Maybe that's where I've softened on it, but I don't know. I feel weird. I'm usually a hater of the other team in town. Now I'm not. Like I'm kind of liking the Nets a little bit.
Yeah,
They're fun.
that's gonna get me started on a whole other conversation
like
there.
It's just it's
This was the first Giants playoff victory since the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, since 2011.
Yes.
Mario Manningham.
It's insane. Mario
Yeah.
Manningham, that's the one.
All right, that's enough football talk.
Yeah, and the lights are out.
And the lights are out. So I think it's a perfect time for us to wrap up this episode of the Mets'd podcast, episode 159. Remember to follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The YouTube video will be on the New York Mets YouTube channel. Download, subscribe, follow our podcast on Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is. The lights just changed. I don't know what's going on, but we'll catch you guys on the next episode of the Mets'd podcast. See ya.
Peace
Happy
out.
birthday, Mark.
Thanks,
See you
Sean,
guys-
finally.
See you guys next time. Happy birthday, Mark.
Get up, get up, get up.